Welcome back to Dunleary Drift on the Docks 2, and what a difference 2 hours makes, because as we had a sunny qualifying, we had a very heavy shower coming in from the sea, which has completely soaked the arena here, and which has made it even more challenging, more difficult, and especially for our drivers who've been practicing for almost 2 days in the dry, it now makes it a very, very treacherous surface. I went out to drive. I'm not even going to talk about how slippy it was or how difficult I found it, but then again, we saw them do sighting laps a moment ago, and they seem to be getting the hang of it. So
yeah,
that says more about me than the conditions.
It looked like there was a lot more grip out there when they went out on track than when you went out on track.
It was a much easier track when they went out.
We won't say too much about that.
No, it was much easier. All the rain had gone by the time they went out, so you know, I was the canary in the mine.
It was bone dry.
It was bone, yeah. So we're moving on to our top 24. We're going to run it as a top 24 right through until the finish. It looks like the heaviest of the rain has passed. We're hoping the track will start to dry out. Now, this is a strange surface because essentially it's cobble lock, which means rain sits on it, but then when it starts to dry up, it dries up very quickly. So when we got here this morning, all of the tarmac areas were wet and the track was dry. So we may see that start to play in, which will make it very interesting for the drivers. You'll have pools of water and then completely dry sections. I can almost see at the moment some sections starting to dry out quicker than others already. This is going to be as difficult as it gets for a professional drift driver. You've got a surface that is not tarmac or cement. You've got basically bumps and ridges around the track. You've got water, standing water at certain clips. You've got completely dry areas. The guys have done a sighting lap, but what's going to happen for the next while is we're going to see a lot of moments where we're not sure what's going to happen in a battle. It makes it interesting, but of course, if you're going to have a professional drift series in Ireland and you don't expect there to be some bad weather over the year, you're being a little naive. And today, unfortunately, was the day it came down in the middle.
Exactly. You know, they promised it, you know, to be 20-odd degrees all weekend, and unfortunately, Dunleary appears to be the exception to the rule. But you know what? We're not going to let the bad weather dampen our spirits. We want to thank all of you guys who have stayed in attendance. We know it's a little bit miserable, but you got your brollies up, and we're going to put on a real show for you here. The drivers are ready on the line. We are ready for our top 24, Dave.
Yeah, and of course,
as you say, we're going to run it straight through to the end. No breaks from here on out, and we're going to try and get you guys as involved as possible.
And if the track starts to dry and these guys start putting down some runs, we want you guys to start making some noise in Dunleary to make sure that they stay hyped on the track. I know it's pretty miserable out there at the moment, but it's not too cold. It's going to dry up pretty quick. I think we're going to see that track dry as we move through the competition. First battle up in the top 24 is, of course, Devlin against Chris Burnett. Two guys looking to make it through to that top 16. Remember, every driver in this top 24 bracket, there'll be 8 winners. They will join the 8 top qualifiers in the top 16. And as you can see, some standing water still all over the track. And let's see how they got it. First run looks like it's good to go. It will be Devlin to lead in Chris Burnett in the first battle of the top 24.
Yeah, of course, these drivers given a sighting lap during the break if you're watching at home online, so they have had a chance to check the grip levels out there. And, you can see how tricky it is. They come into that midsection, coming off their lines a little bit, and Devlin now starting to put the foot down, opening up a gap with Burnett. Burnett jumps off the outer line just to try and gain a little bit of proximity. And you can see on the screens if you're watching at home or on the monitor here in attendance, a little bit of a patchy, wet, dry surface here. Some of those inner lines a little bit drier than the actual outer line. What happens here, of course, is a lot of the water seeps through the gaps in the cobble lock. That's why it's able to dry out so much quicker than, say, normal tarmac Adam. And the first run in our top 24 is in the books, Dave.
Yeah, and tricky conditions for both these guys, but doing a good job. Look at this, Devlin right out to that outer white line. Burnett staying with him. At this stage, it's very difficult to drive because you're sort of gripping up and slowing up at certain sections, and the car washes quite dramatically. You see Devlin putting on tons of angle to stay on that outer line, but he does a great job in the lead position. And of course, naturally aspirated cars like his BMW will be much more favorable here in these conditions, generally because you have no lag. You've got that throttle whenever you need it to sort of vary the throttle to make sure you're sort of doing enough to keep the wheels spinning, but not too much to actually spin out. So Chris Burnett doing a good job of staying in the mix. So here we go, Chris Burnett will now be in the lead position. Devlin will be in the chase position. As you can see, the rain still falling just ever so slightly. Guys with the wipers on. And looks like Devlin's ready to go here, right side by side with Chris Burnett as they come into the first corner.
Yeah, Burnett leading them in. Devlin comes off that line there just to try and get a bit of impact with the wall from Burnett. And I think Devlin made some contact then to the side door of Chris Burnett. Now, they switch it back out on the wall. It's ever so difficult just to keep that car on that wide line, and even more so for the chase driver to try and keep momentum as you just see them splashing through the puddles that are down on the circuit. And obviously for that chase driver trying to negotiate the difficult surface conditions and also mirror what your opponent is doing in that lead position, making it very, very difficult.
Guys, round of applause for Chris Burnett and Liam Devlin. Very difficult conditions out there to be driving your pride and joy towards these walls. And of course, how it works, we have 3 judges in the tower, Dan, Kieran and Kevin. Graphic comes up, slide of left for Chris Burnett, right for Liam Devlin. Who's going through to the top 16? Liam Devlin gets 1 vote. Will he get another? He does indeed. Liam Devlin gets the win and goes to the top 16. Guys, give it up for Chris Burnett. His weekend will end there. We got to come back to the judges. Guys, talk us through how you're judging this with the conditions so poor.
The qualifying line, the only mistake he made really was washing a little bit after clipping point 2. Chris really struggling for grip and had to cut the track an awful lot to try and maintain some bit of proximity throughout. And then on Chris's lead run, then a little bit scrappy, hit the wall hard at clipping point 2. And Liam definitely had a cleaner chase run, even given the circumstances that Chris didn't exactly have the best line to follow. So overall, over both runs, Liam having a slight advantage and taking the win overall.
There you go. Liam Devlin moves through to the top 16, where he will face the undefeated 2018 Dwayne McKeever. We move along though to our next top 24 battle, which will see Shane OSullivan, the veteran, the man with over 25 podiums in his career, coming up against newcomer and Pro-Am qualifier into the main event here today, Jack Shield.
Shane OSullivan has done more than probably 50 competitive events in pro. Jack Shield is on his first. He's in the grey BMW. He's going up against one of the veterans and the highest ranked drivers in the sport. Can he take down? Can he be the giant killer? Jack Shield coming in behind Shane OSullivan.
Well, certainly the conditions will help him here as the horsepower essentially goes out the window. Sully on a nice wide line, looking very comfortable. Jack Shield though staying with him, not losing ground, mirroring the line of OSullivan perfectly. And as they throw it out towards the wall, look at this big dive down the inside from Jack Shield as he puts it up to the veteran OSullivan, showing no difference.
Oh, Shane OSullivan's gone! Shane OSullivan goes into a spin and Jack Shield takes a 10-0 advantage against one of the highest ranked drivers in Ireland or the UK. It's starting here in Dublin already. While the weather can be miserable, it brings moments like this where heroes can be born from the conditions, and Shane OSullivan spins out, showing just how difficult the conditions are, Eddie, because he is a very experienced driver. And can you believe it? Jack Shield staying in the fight right throughout the run.
Well, you know, we spoke about Jack Shield yesterday, Dave, and how even against the odds it looked as though he was going to go out on a number of occasions, but kept himself in the fight. And by doing so, you get...
Oh, Shane makes big contact there.
With the wall, yeah.
You can see it. He makes contact with the wall heavy, spins the car out, and Jack Shield, they come nose to nose to a stop. And Jack Shield takes a 10-0, I would imagine, advantage. It looks like it was an unforced error from Shane OSullivan there, from where I'm sitting anyway.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
And we talk, if you're new to drifting, we talk about advantages one way or the other. So we sort of split up 10 points. If one driver spins out, the other one gets 10. If it's an even run, it's a 5-5 or a 7-3 advantage or 8-2 or whatever it may be. So that's, if you're new to drifting, that's how we're scoring it roughly before the end.
And then, of course, a good chase run could see the advantage go to the chase driver. So a good chase run could see a chase driver have an advantage of maybe a 7-2 or a 6-4, depending on how good the qualifying line was from the lead driver.
Absolutely.
Now, we talked about 10-0 advantages before, okay? Generally speaking, when that happens, it could quite often be the case that whoever scored that 0 is now in the lead position on the second run. This is different. Shane OSullivan is in the chase position. He has a 10-0 disadvantage, but he's exactly where he needs to be to try and force a mistake from Jack Shield. Jack Shield, on the other hand, will be looking to get a clean pass of the circuit, just no spins,
it's
no.
It's all on Jack Shield.
Yeah,
it's all on Jack Shield. If Jack Shield can get that little BMW around this circuit without a spin or going off course, he's going to take down Shane OSullivan, which will be a massive upset here at Drift on the Docks too. Let's see how he gets on.
Getting through that circuit could be a little bit easier if it was fully dry, but on a wet circuit, you just never know. But Jack Shield, oh, you just see almost getting caught there on entry, dropping a wheel off the circuit. But now getting that car back online and starting to put a little bit of a gap on Shane OSullivan here. And maybe the underpowered car has the real advantage as he's not struggling as much to get the power down. Where
Shane's getting caught here on the inside line, had to back off a little bit as they transit out. Jack almost straightening up. Can he finish the run? He's going very close to the wall. Can he finish the run? He can, and Shane shuts it down before the run, probably knowing what has happened. Could we see history in the making? A man on his first ever event in the pro class, not even the pro class, yesterday's Pro-Am class. Could he take down an ex-UK champion in his first ever event? Well, slide him left for Jack Shield, slide him right for Shane OSullivan. Who's going to the top 16? It's Jack Shield! Jack Shield takes down Shane O'Sullivan in the top 24.
The dream continues. I mean, that is just astonishing for Jack Shield. No real need to go back to the judges on that one, Dave. A spin from Shane O'Sullivan.
Even people like us, Eddie, can make a call on that one. If you're facing the wrong way, you're not going to win the battle. So Shane O'Sullivan spinning out. Jack Shield is going back on. Did I just beat Shane O'Sullivan? Really?
But guess what? Jack Shield is going to his first ever top 16 in the last ever event in Dunleary.
Amazing.
In his first ever pro event.
Let's see how it goes from here. Paul McCarthy, usually an expert in the wet, goes up against Stuart Gilmore. Here's the pro rookie here. McCarthy going in as the favorite in that yellow and black BMW. Gilmore in that blue pickup truck, PS13, whatever it may be, with an RB26. He's the newcomer, so we're not too sure how this one's going to go down, but McCarthy sitting in 4th position in the championship, can't afford to throw away it here, and Gilmore looking to make a name for himself. Yeah, look at this.
What I'm thinking here, McCarthy with a wealth of experience, and especially in the wet, very used to driving this car around tight technical circuits. We've seen him in the past do quite well.
Look at Gilmore though, he's right there with Paul McCarthy as they transition and trying to go back on the door again. You can see it's getting patchy out there, starting to dry a little bit more grip on the circuit. And this is where it gets really slippy. You can see McCarthy also hitting the wall towards the end of it. Oh, and almost spinning, and look at this, McCarthy holds it where Shane O'Sullivan spun. He just about holds on.
Yeah, Gilmore really bringing the fight, but quite a shallow line throughout.
Look at this. On the back bumper as they come across the line. You know, I'll tell you what's happened here, Eddie. At that zone where you saw Shane O'Sullivan spin, there was a huge puddle there. And I think every car that's passed has pushed that water a little bit further, so it left it very, very slippery. And I think that's what's catching a lot of these guys out, especially down the far end of the course. There's a dip just before one of the last clipping zones there. And watch, I'll show you now on the replay for you guys here in attendance. Watch McCarthy as he goes out here. He's on a perfect line, but all of a sudden, boom, slips, bang, hits the wall. And watch the rear end just absolutely go as he comes through that puddle. But he just about holds it, but he does stop Gilmore from transitioning. So judges will be looking at that. It is a mistake from Paul McCarthy there. Yeah,
it will be interesting to hear at the end of this battle what the judges' take on that one is. But we line them back up. Gilmore now into the lead position. McCarthy's going to give chase, and this one hangs in the balance. Certainly a great run from both drivers. A couple of errors maybe on either side throughout the runs. And
look how fast it's drying on the inside of the circuit as well. This is going to make it a game of chess for these guys out there. Look at McCarthy trying to eat Stuart Gilmore's entry from McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy throws it right onto the door here, going very aggressive. Probably at the spotter in the air. Oh, but McCarthy now has to come into a very shallow line. Backs off a little. And McCarthy, being the aggressor, puts it on the door. Gilmore now as they come out to the wall once more. Gilmore tags the wall. Can he get through unscathed? It is very, you can just see it. Paul McCarthy backs off there, expecting that track to be very slippy in that section, learning from the previous run.
Oh,
and a side-by-side contact with the wall.
Contact with each other, contact with the wall. Dunleary makes some noise. The boys are throwing down in the wet here in Dunleary. I mean, to me, it's kind of getting more interesting. I'm enjoying it. Look at this.
Backdoor bangers through the final section. And you know what? It adds a completely new element. And in this sort of conditions, Dave, there is no favorite.
I don't know. Like, McCarthy goes as the favorite, but after that run from Gilmore, and I don't know. I mean, the judges are going to call it, but I mean, look at this at the end of the run from both drivers as they come through here. Gilmore much clever in the way he's dealing with that condition. McCarthy sort of on the wrong line completely, but watch this as they come to the wall. Gilmore loses the back end, hits the wall, hits McCarthy, hits him. He kills his bumper again, 2 rounds in a row. And the judging decision will have to come in and we'll see which way it goes, but it's for a space in the top 16. The championship is now thrown apart. Yeah, slide him left for Gilmore, slide him right for Paul McCarthy. It could go either way here. 1 vote for Paul McCarthy gets the win and goes through, keeping his championship alive. We're going to go back to our judges. Guys, it's tough to judge that out there.
To be honest, it was nearly all even up until the collision. So it all came down to Stuart tagging the wall there at clip 8. That was a big hit. And that basically is why he lost that run. It was more or less even at that point up to that contact.
So that hit with the wall, obviously hitting back into Paul McCarthy, that's what knocked him out right at the finish line. He'll be kicking himself over that one. But McCarthy keeps going. Now here's 2 guys that somewhat don't bother with the rain. Less power might be actually suiting Pete Nielsen and Chris Brady, who are on the line right now.
Yeah, and these 2 guys quite evenly matched in the horsepower race. So this could be a very close battle. 2 guys with a wealth of experience, and Pete Nielsen be very used to driving in wet conditions, a regular down at the
Yeah, just a quick one. We're hearing word from the pits that our pit reporter Neil Dunn is down with Jack Shield talking to him after taking down Shane O'Sullivan.
An amazing result there, Jack. You're after doing really, really good there yesterday. Got yourself all the way to the top 4. It probably didn't realise that you're going to quite qualify today,
no,
but to take down Shane O'Sullivan.
No, I didn't think it at all. Like, to qualify yesterday was my goal, and then to even get in today was just a bonus, and then qualifying was a more bonus. Yeah. And now taking down Shane O'Sullivan was, you know,
unbelievable.
That's a pretty big achievement in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. You said you weren't coming back for the rest of the championship. I think you might change your mind after this round.
No, 100%. 100%. I'll have to be back now.
Very good. Thanks very much. Back to you, Dave.
Yeah, well, sorry for the technical difficulty there, but Neil's obviously Jack Shield amazed with his own weekend. Cannot believe it. He said he was just going to do one round this year, and now he's like, well, you know. He'd probably win the whole thing now from here on in. So here we go. It is going to be Pete Nielsen against Chris Brady on the line. Remember, Chris Brady in that blue Corolla came second on the podium. Almost won it here last year. Pete Nielsen struggling a little bit in qualifying. Had practice with power issues, but now the power doesn't matter.
Yeah, power figures out the window. Not important. Pete on a nice line here. Brady deviates from that line. But look at this. Straight onto the door now as he bullies Pete Nielsen. Wheel to wheel as they come through the transition, but Peden starts to open the gap. Can we see Brady close it in on him once again? Throwing it out to the wall. Look at this from Brady, sheer aggression. They come together, Brady and Nielsen, and every time Brady gets over aggressive, he loses that little bit of ground, but certainly doing everything he can to bring the fight contact with the wall across the line. Guys, give it up for Peden Nielsen and Chris Brady.
And it is starting to dry in certain sections of the track, especially towards the transitions in the middle. That's what's making it very interesting. You can actually see it visually if you're here in the venue, where it's starting to be completely bone dry and where the water is sitting. So we hope no more rain will fall. It will look like we keep drying and drying and drying, hopefully get into full smoky runs later on after the top 24. But right now, I mean, hard to say, but Pete Nielsen not putting a foot wrong on that run. Chris Brady, some moments of brilliance, but also some mistakes.
Yeah, as I say, you know, making those dives, showing a lot of aggression, but with that having to, you know, back out a little bit, then losing some ground. So not showing consistent proximity throughout the run, but certainly moments of brilliance. And it'll be up to Pete Nielsen now to try and better that proximity and have, you know, limit the errors. So Brady going to lead them in this time around.
Yeah.
As they get this second half of the battle underway. Peden right in it there, right from the start. Brady on a nice wide line as they feather the throttle. And a completely different driving style that these guys
Look at Pete Nielsen absolutely nailing it to the rear end of Chris Brady's car. He knows while it's damp, this is his best chance to stay with a lead car. Oh, and a little error for Pete Nielsen as he over-rotates a small bit and loses the proximity with Chris Brady he had at the start of the run. Let's see if he can close it back again. It looks like he may be able to do it. And they're struggling with the wet and dry here, Eddie. You can see lots of adjustment of the steering wheel, and they come across the line door to door. Guys, give it a round of applause for Chris Brady and Pete Nielsen.
Yeah, and of course these guys would prefer to have either a completely bone dry track or a completely wet track. When it gets patchy like this, it becomes extremely difficult to gauge where the grip was going to be and where it's not going to be. So Nielsen and Brady, we go to our judges. Slide them left for Brady, slide them right for Nielsen. Who's going through to the top 16? Kieran, Kevin and Dan. Peden Nielsen goes through to the top 16. Give it a round of applause to Chris Brady. A valiant effort, but unfortunately won't be able to replicate his run of form last year. We go to our judges to talk us through that run from those two drivers.
Yeah, very, very, very good run there from Peden. Great lead line. Unfortunately for Chris, he started losing a bit of ground there, kind of coming out of clip 3. He makes a big dive towards clip 4 to try and gain back proximity. Now he does gain back proximity by 5, but unfortunately starts to fall back off again. But that proximity was gained by shortcutting the track. So it was advantage Peden after the first run. Second run there, Chris put down a pretty good lead line in fairness, but Peden was pretty much glued to him all the way around. Small bit of separation developed up by clip 5, but Peden closed the door again there for a good solid finish. So Peden over both runs.
There you have it. Pete Nielsen goes through top 16, and you just don't know which way it's going to go, and especially in this next one. Danny O'Callahan goes up against Dean Martin. Dean Martin in the M3. I think the NA car here is going to have the advantage, especially with the patchy conditions, but Danny O'Callahan has proved that he's only a pro rookie. Both of these guys pro rookies. They want to go to that top 16. O'Callahan made the top 16 at round 1. He wants to keep that trend going. He's in the black S14. Two very different machines, two very different driving styles, but there can only be one winner. It will be Danny O'Callahan to lead in Dean Martin.
Yeah, as they come off the line, an interesting one here. Oh, Martin straight down onto the door of O'Callahan. Can he keep that proximity now as O'Callahan glues it to the wide line? Coming ever so slightly off it as they transition now back through the midsection. A big dive. Oh, and a straighten. An error there from Dean Martin.
Oh, Dean Martin's got an issue here.
He's got a
an
real
issue.
problem, and a spin, meaning a 0.
Yeah, something happened Dean Martin's car there. I'm not sure if the brake stuck on or it was a handbrake issue or he broke a half shaft. Something went on the back end of that BMW. And Daniel Callahan just holding on by the fingertips to take it across the line. But it definitely looks like Dean Martin has gone up to the donut area, or the Burnett area rather, to check what is wrong with his BMW. I'm not sure if he's trying to loosen the brakes up or something's happening, but definitely was. It looked like a car error to me.
It certainly did, yeah. So very uncharacteristic. We'll take a look, and this is where, just as they come through the midsection here.
Yeah, in the transition, looks like Dean just straightens up, can't go back on the power again. So it hits the brakes, handbrakes, goes back on the power, and nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. So it's a power issue to me. I think he's just something, not sure what went right or wrong, but I suppose he's probably thinking, not much I can fix on it. I got to go back running again. But if you come into this first corner and the car doesn't hit the throttle, you're going straight in the wall. So that's a brave move without checking the car out. You can see him representing Precision Tint and Graphics. And Morgan Auto Body Repairs. That's beautiful brand new build in that BMW. And Daniel Callahan takes a 10-0 into this one. Can Dean Martin get back in the fight? Of course, with conditions like this, anything can turn around very quickly.
Yeah, O'Callahan in the right position though, chasing here. He doesn't need to be overly aggressive. Can sit back just a little bit, and again, just try and get through the circuit without making any major errors, and he will see himself into the top 16. But very unfortunate for Dean Martin. You have to wonder, maybe was it driver error, the fact that he's straight back out onto track, with bringing it out to the wall, doing a really nice job here on this lead run. But unfortunately, Dave, as we say, so hard to force that error from the lead position.
Again, same issue again. You know what? To me, and I am no mechanical expert, people will definitely say it looked to me a little bit like a fuel surge issue. Every time the car changed direction from one to the other, it seemed to cut out. So that seemed to happen twice at both transitions. So maybe that is the issue with Dean Martin's car, but it's not one he wanted. Guys, round of applause for Dean Martin. Unfortunately, the car just not playing ball with him there. As Danny O'Callaghan and him wait for their scores from the judges, and it's an obvious one. Going through is Danny O'Callaghan. Danny O'Callaghan goes through to the top 16. Dean Martin eliminated, and he's going to be not going to be happy with that one. Obviously, a shutdown and a spin out, too big of an error to return from, and he bows out. So, it's very interesting top 24.
Yeah, certainly the weather conditions making it very unpredictable. We have no idea what's going to happen. So,
and I think we're sitting at the moment, Ed, just outside the rain, because the rain is passing into Dublin in front of us. But just where we are right now, it looks like it's just a little bit clearer.
Yeah, we were watching on the radar earlier on, and it looked as though a big cloud heading towards Ireland, heading towards Dublin, but just about missing Dunleary. So
we might be lucky.
Fingers crossed we're getting a little
Absolutely.
bit lucky.
Well, here our man that might not be too against the rain is Charlie Geary in the BMW Touring. He goes up against Mike Fitzgerald. Mike having a very strong start to the season. Charlie trying to get himself back in the mix. I'm flipping a coin on this one. Both guys are been phenomenal since the start of practice. I wouldn't pick a favourite here. It could go either way.
No, there's nothing in it, and especially when you add the rain and the wet track into the mix here, this is as unpredictable as any other battle on the grid. Mikey to lead them in as the higher qualifier. Charlie right on his tail, and Charlie, you can just hear him feathering the throttle. And look at the aggression as they go door to door, wheel to wheel. They transition back, and Geary loses some ground now. Can he reel Mikey Fitz back in? Very shallow line as they take it out to the wall. And Mikey Fitz is nailing that qualifying run, but Charlie Geary bringing the fight once more. Charlie Geary brings it right back onto the door. Mikey Fitz in his RX-7. And as they throw it over the line, Dunleary raised the roof for Mikey Fitz and Charlie Geary.
That's impressive stuff for both of those guys. Charlie Geary almost making contact as they came out of the first corner. Impressive stuff. Did lose a bit of ground on that transition, as you mentioned, Eddie, and that sort of cost him line on the track. Watch this initiation from Charlie Geary. Right here, he starts to reel in Mike Fitzgerald, and look at the proximity he brings right about now. Goes right to the inside door and almost makes contact, and then just has to back out of that transition. Mike, no such worries. Keeps that RX-7 pinned in the Drift Games RX-7, and 2JZ singing. And at that stage, Charlie cutting a lot of track to try and get back in the fight.
At that point, he does get the proximity back, but how much track or line has he sacrificed in order to do so? Judges will be paying very close attention to that. And
I mean, looking across the circuit right now, you have fully bone dry areas in that circuit, and it's actually the cars themselves dragging the water around the outside line now. So it's an interesting one. Anything can happen for the last couple of battles here in the top 24. Charlie Geary, though, will lead him out against Mike Fitzgerald, and Mike has got to go for it here.
yeah, Mike needs to really turn the screw now. Needs to put it on the door. Spotters will be in the radio telling him, you know, Mike, you got to go fully on to the door. Charlie Geary right out to that wide line. Mikey tucks inside now, staying with him as he tries to turn the screw and force an error from Charlie Geary.
Oh.
Look at the aggression from Mikey Fitz as they switch back. Inch perfect from Mike Fitzgerald in that chase position as he maintains consistent proximity all the way around. Look at the car control from both these drivers. Now, does Mikey get caught? No.
Oh!
Loses the rear bumper spoiler. Lose the spoiler on transition.
What a run! Mike Fitzgerald risked everything on that transition. He had two decisions to make: back out and lose proximity, or take the pillar with him with the spoiler. And once again, he did exactly that, guys. Give it up for Charlie Geary and Mikey Fitz.
Yeah, Mikey Fitz not looking like he was going to make it through there, but just a stroke of sheer genius and sheer aggression gets him through.
Yeah, as I said, from our perspective, Mike was doing a great job of staying, but he gets caught a little bit here, trying to keep things on angle. And as he transitions, he goes, I've got a very late transition ahead of me. Transitions back, just about takes the spoiler, and the rear light stays in the fight. Impressive stuff.
Importantly, though, as well, a couple of wheels over the line and off circuit, so judges will be watching and scoring that too. So a tight one overall. Wouldn't like to be calling this one. Judges' scores look to be making their way into the systems. Who's going to be into the top 16, Mikey Fitz or Charlie Geary? Slide them left for Charlie Geary, slide them right for Mikey Fitz. Kieran, Kevin and Dan, Mikey Fitz is going through to the top 16. Give it up for Charlie Geary. His weekend ends there, but both guys, Dave, putting on a real show.
Oh, impressive stuff in the conditions, guys. Over to you. Talk us through it. Impressive stuff. And, of course, the conditions not exactly perfect for perfect runs, but Mike doing a good job there.
Yeah, it's the first tough one we've had now to score, to be honest. Okay, the first run, Mike gives Charlie a really good line to chase in the first battle. So Mike is on the line, he's smooth, he's not slowing or anything else. So it's a very chaseable run. And Charlie does a pretty good job on it, but he does make an error just at the transition. The first transition falls back. He does close in again near the end, but you know that was a big enough error he made there. The other way, when it swaps around and Mike is chasing Charlie, Mike again has very good proximity. He's within 3 meters to the first corner, so been on the inside of the track there a little bit. He's within 3 meters, that's all right. Transition is pretty good from Mike. I think for me the biggest issue, it was fairly even to that point. The biggest issue for me was Charlie's transition, the second transition. He comes off of clip 6 and he hangs on the lock for a long time, and Mike is behind him waiting for him to transition. Now, we would say in briefings normally we don't like to see that to happen. We like to see that transition done quickly so that the guy behind has an opportunity to transition. But Charlie hangs an awful lot on lock to the right for a long time, and Mike then eventually ends up clipping and taking his wing off. To be honest, I kind of blame Charlie for that. So that for me was the biggest difference between the two, and that's why we scored it for Mike.
So Mikey Fitz goes through, and we move it on to our next battle. Marc McBurney, Dennis Murphy. This is going to be an exciting one. If you're a fan of the Irish Drift Championship, you'll know the show these guys bring and the aggression they bring at every single opportunity. Marc McBurney with one of the moments of this season, of the last few years, against Adrian Walsh at round 1, but he ended up backwards in a wall at one point as well. Dennis Murphy, pure raw aggression every time.
I'm not sure if you noticed when you were down at the track, every single clip point has a Dennis Murphy sticker on it. So
wow,
a statement of where Dennis Murphy intends to be putting his car as he goes back out on circuit. McBurney to lead them in the drift shed 180 SX. But look at this from Dennis Murphy right there with him. Sheer aggression, putting it right on the door of the Drift Shed NI 180SX. But McBurney putting that car right where it needs to be. Perfect lead line so far from him.
Oh, McBurney spins! McBurney spins, and just as you said it, Ed, it's all your fault on that perfect lead line until he spun. We should say nothing.
We should say nothing at all, yeah.
Dennis Murphy, but look, Dennis Murphy was definitely putting the pressure on.
And that's the thing, Dave, right where he needed to be, doing everything, and you know that gets in the lead driver's head when he looks out his door window and he can see.
Look at this, McBurney on that outer line, and watch this. It's a little bit drier there, and it just gets very wet all of a sudden. I think McBurney's been caught out by the conditions there.
Yeah, certainly looks as though he has, and they head back to the start line, and from where we're sitting, Dave, a 10-0 advantage to Dennis Murphy.
Yeah, and the conditions are not ideal for either driver now. The confidence levels will be low. Of course, wet and dry sections of the track. McBurney getting caught out. He's on a 10-0 disadvantage. Can Murphy put in a run to get himself into the top 16 and right away rewrite those bad moments from round 1? Look at this. Murphy going too wide, though. Murphy just about holds it.
Just about keeping all four wheels on track. But Dennis Murphy, big error on entry. And look at this now as the door opens for McBurney to apply the pressure. Can he force one big error from Dennis Murphy? Oh, he has to back out. Oh, they come together. Contact on transition. And whoa.
Well,
more wheels off track from Murphy. Contact with the front bumper on McBurney. Look how beat up McBurney's front bumper is. And do you know what? It doesn't get much closer than that.
Well, McBurney had to force an issue and try and force it. He did as he went as close as possible. Guys, give it up for Dennis Murphy and Marc McBurney. And it looks like Marc McBurney's car got punched in the face. Now watch this on transition. McBurney waits, dives early, transitions before Murphy, and Murphy's bumper just takes the front off his car. Brave move.
Yeah, we said there was going to be some fighting out on circuit, and yeah, those cars looking a little bit battered and bruised after that one. It seems as though it was a pretty obvious one. Who's going through to the top 16? Is it going to be Dennis Murphy? Is it going to be Marc McBurney? Slide him left for Murphy, slide him right for McBurney.
Let's see which way it goes. Judges still deliberating this one. Have we got a decision? Who's going through to the top 16? One vote for Dennis Murphy. And it is Dennis Murphy who goes through. The only thing that could have been an error there was if there was a decision on the contact on the second run, but it seemed as though Marc McBurney spinning on the first run and causing the contact on the second one by being too aggressive. Well, there you go. You're out of the competition. But look, he leaves, and you can see how much of a fight he put on with the front bumper. Absolutely shredded. He did everything he could do to try and get back into the fight. But Dennis Murphy is in at the top 16.
Yeah, Dennis Murphy progresses through, but look at this. Two guys lining up, and expect fireworks here. I guarantee there's going to be panels missing off both these cars. Brian Egan taking on Kevin Quinn for a space in the top 16. Neither of these two drivers qualifying in the top 8, so now they got to battle each other to secure a space. I'm not really sure which way this one's going to go, but there's guaranteed there's going to be fireworks. These two guys always putting it to the wall, always putting it on the door. Two extremely aggressive chase drivers as well. So,
well, I mean, both of these guys have got podiums in the past. They've got that pedigree on the start line. They come up against each other in the top 24 here, and both were going very well in practice. Didn't show that highlight in qualifying, but now they've got to go head to head. Now look at that circuit, wet and dry, drying rapidly also. This is going to be a no confidence run, I think, from both guys. It's throw the dice and see what happens. Brian Egan to lead in. Look at Kevin Quinn on the back bumper.
Yeah, Kevin Quinn right there with Brian Egan, but Brian looking like he is a perfect match for the conditions out there. Kevin Quinn with the proximity though, as they switch it back now. Kevin looking to make a big dive, but starting to lose some ground as Brian Egan spins.
Oh, Brian
Egan spins.
And we've seen that happen right throughout this top 24. That seems to be that area, that those top 3 or those 2 zones down where the big screen is. They're the worrying moments for everybody. And as you can see, looking good all the way up until that point. But again, we saw McBurney spin there. We've seen a couple of guys spin there. And it just goes to show it's not even driver error. It's conditions that it's almost just holding on right now. As you can see, just literally loses the back end of the car. Absolutely no grip whatsoever. And yeah, you can see the standing water there just causing that issue.
Yeah, and so interesting that it's the racing line is where there appears to be the least amount of grip. So we switch it around, and again, another driver facing.
Well, you can expect Brian Egan's going to come out here and push him around the track. He's got to force an error, so he's going to put in the chase run.
Yeah, and you can see that aggression straight off the line. Brian Egan not giving an inch to Kevin Quinn. Bumper to bumper here as they transition. Look at the aggression for Brian Egan. Right on the door. Almost needs to tone it back here as he tries to force the issue here against Kevin Quinn. Side by side through the transition. A big dive now from the dealt with driver. Brian Egan doing everything he can. Kevin Quinn, though,
Look
to
at
be holding
this for a
composure.
chase run. Brian Egan taking all the risks here to try and get himself back into the fight. Oh, that's impressive stuff for Brian Egan. He knew he had to do everything he could to try and get into the fight. Kevin Quinn, though, completing the circuit. And you know what? Brian Egan leaving on a point of saying, look, I put in as entertaining a run as I possibly could. So we get a result from the judges. Both drivers come out. Guys, that was pure aggression from both of these guys. I want you to give them a huge round of applause when they get out of the car. They are under severe pressure today to try and keep these high, expensive machines on track, and it's not easy. So, judges locking in their decisions on this one, and it is a fairly obvious one. Going through to the top 16 is Kevin Quinn. Kevin Quinn gets the call and goes through to the top 16. Thumbs up from both drivers, and Brian Egan, even though putting on an exceptional chase run, probably the chase run of the top 24. The damage was done with that spin on the first run. So that is the end of our top 24. And that means it is ready to go for the main event, top 16 here in Dún Laoghaire. And we are going to take a few moments just to prepare for that parade, and we are going to introduce all of our top 16 drivers to you guys here in Dún Laoghaire. Introduce them, hype you guys up, get everybody involved, and then we are ready to go with our top 16 main event. It's been building all week to the next few hours, next 2 hours. This is the main event. Who's going to win it? I'm going to take a quick trip down to the track to talk to you guys, to talk you through the event, and also introduce these amazing 16 drivers. We're back shortly with more action from Drift on the Docks 2, brought to you by Link Engine Management here in Dún Laoghaire.